Hi there, I'm Sarah from Women Magazine and I've flown halfway around the world to bring you an exclusive behind the scenes report from Ramsay Street. And who better to show me around than Stefan Dennis and Paul Robinson.
Hey, how you doing,
Hi,
Sarah?
lovely to see you. Well, we are here on the famous Ramsay Street. Tell me a little bit about the location and...
Well, it's interesting because one of the first things is it's not actually a street, it's a cul-de-sac, which we've always scratched our heads about, but you know what? Hey, that's life. And it's actually a real street in Melbourne, in one of the outer suburbs of Melbourne called Vermont, depending on which school you went to. And real people live in these real houses. It's not a studio set, it's not a backlot, it really is genuine houses. In saying that though, the production company has finally managed to lease two of the houses, which we now use as green rooms and production homes and things like that. But if you look over here to my right, your left, is what used to be Paul Robinson's house. Of course now he lives in the very exotic penthouse above his almighty kingdom. But that was actually Clive Gibbons' place right at the very beginning. I don't know if you remember the Dr. Clive Gibbons, who first entered the street as a monkey. There you go. And if you come up a little bit further here, the second street here, Sarah, this is, I don't know if you remember, but Kylie and Jason, Scott and Charlene, yeah. That's the balcony they met on. And that's, of course, that used to be originally Max and Maria Ramsay's house. The original Ramsays, and then it was taken over by Madge and Harold some years later, and Madge's brother, I think. And of course, Scott and Charlene, that's where that all started. Charlene Mitchell in those days. And then you come to what I consider the most iconic house in the street, which is of course the Robinsons. Well hidden by trees these days because it grew. But that is the original, the Robinsons household. That's one of the ones that we lease now. Isn't that great?
And you were pretty much first scene, first episode, back.
In there. Well, where we're standing right at the moment, right on this spot, was I thought it was the first scene, but it was one of the very first scenes in the show, and it was actually Danny's nightmare scene, and it involved the entire principal cast. It was a nighttime shoot. I think we were shooting until about 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and it was the whole cast. And we had big smoke machines and all of that, and it was Danny in the centre of us, all teasing and laughing maniacally at him and that was Danny's scene. So that's right here, day one.
That was 1985 and it aired in March.
1985, we went to air March here, and I think didn't go to air until toward the end of 86 in Britain.
Did you ever think it was going to be such a phenomenon?
Never. I thought, it's funny you should say that also, because I thought, along with a lot of other people, I probably wouldn't last that long. Even if it was successful, we thought, yeah, I might get a 5-year run or something. And of course, 30 years later, I think the production company is kicking themselves for not buying the street when they could have got it cheap.
And who lives in this house here?
This one here, you probably all recognise that one, of course, Dear Carl and Susan Kennedy. That used to be, originally that started off as Des and Daphne's house. That was where Des's Bucks Party, again, scene one of the, well, I don't know if it's scene one, but first episode. So yeah, Des and Daphne's, and I don't know who went into it after Des and Daphne, but as we all know now, and has been for some time now, is Carl and Susan's place and all of their offspring. And then if you move next to that one, this one now is Toadie and Sonia's place. Now an interesting thing about that, those who are avid fans, and I don't know if you know this one, Sarah, that was actually Paul's house. That was Paul's very, very first house. Jim Robinson bought that for Paul as a wedding present when he got married to Terry, the plumber. Don't remember Terry, do you? She shot me, you should remember it.
And on the show, you've been married 5 times, is that right?
Well, I've actually had 8 weddings,
right,
to 5 women, because okay. I had 3 weddings to Gail. We had the first one, which was the marriage of convenience, the sham one. Then there was the real one where they were in love and they decided to actually get married properly. And then they had another fake one when they were drawing Robert out from the bushes to try and expose him. So they set up another mock wedding of Paul and Gail getting married again, which we kind of still say was a wedding. And 2 to Rebecca, and then just 1 to each of the other women.
And I know you've got to dash back because you're filming this afternoon.
Do you want to know who lives in that street there?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That street, that house there. That house there that's the last one. That, believe it or not, used to be Mrs. Mangle.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. My editor needed to know that detail.
Well, that's it, Mrs. Mangle's ex-house. Joe and I don't even remember, Nell Mangle, wasn't it? Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to show us around. The sun has come out just as you're about to go back and do some filming inside on
inside, yeah.
So fantastic. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for that.